Project Zero series, or Fatal Frame as it's known in North America, encompasses some of the most beloved horror games ever. Although never in the mainstream, the series has always been well regarded thanks to its terrifying concept of not actually having any conventional weapons to defend yourself with. Your only protection from vengeful spirits is a camera. Yes, taking snapshots of ghosts to ward them away. While the series was originally rooted in the PlayStation brand, Koei Tecmo seemed to have switched the series to Nintendo, with them actually playing a part in development and publication duties.
Project Zero Maiden of Blackwater is the 5th game in the Project Zero series. It was released in Japan in 2014 and it hit Western shores after an uncertain period in 2005. Sadly, North America only got an eShop release. Europe fared little better in the fact that we got this limited edition from Nintendo's website only, not in actual game shops. And so naturally it sold out immediately. And people on eBay are charging ridiculous prices for it. So, is it worth an eShop price or the extortionate eBay? Let's find out.
Project 05 takes place around a fictional location of Mount Hikami, a location notorious for suicides and disappearances. The story mostly follows Yuri, a young assistant to an antique shop owner / personal investigator Hisoka, who then goes missing in the mountain. As Yuri is looking for her, she rescues Miu, who later goes on in search for her mother. And there's also a male character called Ren, who is researching the history of the mountain, later to discover his ancestors' involvement with events leading up to the mountain's curse. There are references to previous games in the series apparently, but I wasn't aware of them until afterwards, so it's not necessary to play them.
The ending is clear, at least a good one. It just takes a very muddled road to get there. You know, there's too many supporting characters with too many mysteries. Everybody has this mystery, and keeping up with them is really quite difficult. There's too much searching for people, and then researching for them, finding them, and then they go missing again.
I can't say I'm a massive fan of how the story develops. At times it feels like your accomplishments in certain chapters become pointless. You make one step forward and then one step back. While the game isn't particularly long, about 15 hours, it takes a while before you start to feel like you're actually achieving something.
Now this does help in the overall miserable feeling of the game. And I mean miserable in a good way. It's just horrifically depressing, and I kind of like that. I just wish there was like a better sense of progression as you go through the story.
A lot of the story is told through picking up notes and diaries, but there are plenty of cutscenes too, although these are hit and miss in the quality department. The delivery of lines from the English cast is stiff, and emotions, body language are less than believable. Sure, the main character is shy and socially awkward, but that doesn't excuse the total lack of terror that she really should be feeling. The only voice actor that comes away with any credibility is Ren's, and he actually appears to be a professional on occasions. Possibly my favourite bit of the game are the flashbacks, which can be found by coming into contact with spirits that you've just defeated. The cutscenes are stylized with either vintage footage or like a VHS filter over them, almost like a found footage sort of thing. It is really effective and it adds so much atmosphere to the game and just the overall creepiness. It's what I looked forward to most more than anything. I was always excited to discover a new one. The majority of the gameplay takes place around various locations on the Mount Hikami, and while there are quite a few varied locations, you'll be seeing all of them a lot. Depending on the chapter, you control one of 3 playable characters from a third-person perspective. It's a horror game, so naturally the walking is painfully slow, and it really adds to the tension of the game, especially early on. Turning is awkward and pathways are tight. Some might call it archaic design, I call it classic horror. The environments are nice and pleasingly creepy, and I think the lighting is fantastic, one of the strong points of the game. It's these two things that sort of make up for the outdated graphics. The Project Zero series has never set sales records, so they've always been on the budget side of things, especially here on the Wii U, a niche game on a system that barely anybody has. You can't blame them for the character models or the iffy textures. The visual effects and filters they use help mask that anyways. Scattered around Mount Hikami, there are plenty of vengeful spirits laying in wait. The only thing you have to protect you is the camera obscura, which is a hilariously bad name, and I'm not even sure why. This antique camera can deal damage to ghosts. Being an antique though, it is slow and weak. At least at the beginning. Depending on how you fare in a chapter, you can earn points which can be used to upgrade certain parts of your camera. Sadly, each character has their own camera, so you'll be dividing your points between 3 cameras overall. You can upgrade the damage output, the reload speed, and the spirit absorption capabilities. There are also extra lenses which have unique abilities, maybe stunning the spirits or even absorbing health. Their effectiveness can be upgraded too. Curiously, the camera has different types of ammo. Base ammo is weak and slow, but has infinite usage. There are better ammo types that can be picked up, and they are generally plentiful. Personally, for the most part, I persisted with the base ammo for most standard fights, but brought out the big guns for the bosses. The combat itself is really awesome and unique. The Wii U gamepad is perfect for the role of a camera. Using the gyroscopic controls to frame your targets comes naturally, and I wouldn't want it any other way. The fights have surprising depth to them. Just taking a picture of the spirit's face will make the fight last forever. You need to get as many targets into one frame as possible to deal a sizable amount of damage. Thankfully, one ghost has a few targets on its body to make things better. You generally want to get 5 targets into one picture, as this will do serious damage to them all and send them flying backwards. Adding to the depth are the aforementioned lenses, of which I only found a few of them useful, mainly the health restoration one. One cool aspect is initiating a fatal frame moment, whereby just before an attacking enemy is about to strike you, you can counter it. Doing so will allow you to fire off multiple snapshots, earning you lots of points and dealing massive damage.
While the combat takes place in plenty of open places, it's the tight-knit corridors where the real tenseness and frustration can come in. It's the clunky controls and the movement combination with very little space. When multiple spirits are coming at you through the walls, it just makes it a very, very difficult moment, that's for sure. On a horror level, it works well. Sometimes it seems a little unfair. There's just like no room to move whatsoever. You're like in this size corridor, and you have to run between them and turn around, take a picture, run, turn around, take a picture, and you keep doing that, and it can get frustrating.
One mechanic that I probably should mention, just because it was supposed to be a big thing, is the Wetness Meter. With the whole theme of water hanging around the game, the water also has an effect on the character. If your character gets wet, either by rain, falling in the water, or getting attacked by special spirits, the wetter you are, the more damage you will take. On the other hand, you can also deal more damage yourself. If it gets to extreme levels, however, then it will start to deplete your health. You can cure it by using purifying embers, which often lay around the place. In all honesty, I barely noticed its effect. In fact, I wouldn't have known it was in the game had it not mentioned it. The only thing I noticed was the perviness of it all. It's not a difficult game at all on normal mode. Health items are plentiful, but that doesn't make getting hit unfairly any better. Once you complete the game, you can unlock Nightmare Mode, which, as you'd expect, ramps up the difficulty, although it's not something I would have the motivation to play.
This Project Zero, for me, is the kind of game that you only need to play like one time. While it does offer reasons to go back, because there's like collectibles, costumes, and you can attain all the different ranks, I can't imagine me going back and doing that. There's no need for me to do that. The gameplay is fun and great, frustrating sometimes, but it is a one-time thing. Any more and it would become a chore, I think. To me, that's the game as a whole. I played this game very slowly. I played about one chapter every day, which is between an hour, maybe 40 minutes, 50 minutes, depending. And, that's enough. That's fine. Games can do that. Sometimes it's good to take a game very slowly. You can take it in more. Project 05 is sort of an anomaly in today's video game market. I mean, it's one of the rare instances of like a mid-tier budget game. Sandwiched between the AAAs and the indie games. Back when the series was born on like the PlayStation 2, there was plenty of titles like it, mid-tier games. They were fairly prevalent, and you could find some really good hidden gems in there. I think that's why I have a soft spot for Project Zero Maiden of Blackwater, because it's kind of reminiscent of one of those games. It's got some flaws, mainly from its budget, I think. I give it the benefit of the doubt. I wish more publishers would do games like this, Don't put a lot of money into it, but get a little bit of money out. You don't always need to have that AAA game. And I wish there was more games like this. Now, regarding collectability, Maiden of Blackwater is probably the most expensive game for your Wii U. And many people would probably say it's the rarest, which it is. It's not the rarest. I mean, just look on eBay, there's dozens of people trying to sell this for an extortionate price. I bought mine for, I think it was about £75. Not ideal, but it could have been worse. This is probably one of the first games you'll probably want to get for your collection, just to get it out of the way. That's how I see collecting. Get the expensive ones out of the way first, and then get the little ones later. The box art is a bit naff. I mean, I like the front bit's kind of good. The back, they didn't need to make it good because nobody was buying this off a shelf. You know, they bought it as a package, they knew what they were getting, so they didn't really need to try. It's got peer into the depths and behold fear itself in like 20 languages. Boring. It's got the cast of characters looking very miserable and the camera, and then that's it. It's not the most exciting. The actual card box itself, the limited edition, fares a little better. It's got some screens on there, some nice visuals. It's got the Maiden of Blackwater herself, or one of them, and of course the 10 million languages. I'm not a fan of that. It kind of ruins it. And what happened to good box art? You know, when you'd look in shop, you'd look at the back to see if it looked good. Nowadays, they don't even try. I mean, this is okay, but this is not what to do. Overall, I would say Project Zero, Maiden of Blackwater, it's not the best game in the world. It's got tons of flaws, but it's still an interesting game, and it may frustrate you, but it's a unique experience that you can't really get anywhere else, apart from the Wii U. Is it worth the extortionate price? Probably not. No, probably not. Not for physical. I mean, I think there's a sale on the eShop like now. I don't know how much, but you definitely need it in a sale. I think it's worth it for about £20. You know, it's a mid-tier game, interesting, but it's got plenty of flaws, and it won't be for everybody. That's for sure. Okay guys, if you've enjoyed my very different review of Project Zero Maiden,